It's been a very interesting Sunday for me. I mean, nothing like crazy or out of the ordinary. Made some pasta, some spaghetti specifically, some good tomato sauce, olive oil, and lemon juice. It's just a wonderful dynamic of a mix, in my opinion. I also watched Stanley Tucci prepare like pasta stuff. I think there was something with steak and then also clams. Such a fascinating guy, he really is. I'm a fan of his work. Um, for those that know Stanley, he's wonderful. Whether it's exploring cuisine or on the screen, I really did not try to rhyme that. It just kind of happened. But it's been a nice Sunday, and just felt like reporting that. Um, Gonna explore the process and experiences that I've been through in terms of this stage and era of life that is seemingly challenging. It's wild to be at a point where you're no longer the old self, but you're also not entirely yet the new self. And I think that I've talked about this previously in other videos where it's like, there's that transition of life where you're not the same way you were before. You don't have the same, dynamics of relationships. Maybe you're even letting go of old ways of doing things. Maybe you used to do things that you didn't actually want to because you were in survival. Not good or bad, right or wrong. There's absolutely zero shame or guilt here. Just the exploration of how things were, how things are right now, and where they're going. The moving of this machine, right? All the while trying not to hit the fucking iceberg. The impending doom of iceberg, right? And when I say that, I really mean just doing the best that I can to not continue the same patterns. Um, Lately, I would say one of the most interesting things for me has been watching dynamics of familiarity unfold, like fucking war zones and battlefields, and just observing, right? Not like partaking and, jumping in and stuff, but just observing, right? Like kind of just like watching people interact back and forth in the same ways that they always have, but these are ways that, as an individual heals and moves away from those familial dynamics and patterns, right? They choose to no longer engage because continuing to engage would mean the opposite of healing, which healing in and of itself is doing the opposite of what you previously did, right? So if you previously involved yourself in, you know, dysfunctional dynamics and relationships, toxicity, abuse, all that kind of stuff, um, choosing to not do that and to like realize that you're choosing healthier for yourself, right? So there's been that present, right? Just kind of like watching like back and forth, being like, holy fucking shit, what the fuck are you guys doing? Why are you choosing to do that? Oh my god, there is healthier available. You don't have to raise your voice over, wind, right? Maybe if there's like a nuke or something, but if it's like a gentle, soft breeze and it's just right, and you just go like, don't need to do that, so we're not going to. Um, can't fit a square peg into a. I mean, as long as it's like the same fucking size, you can't fit a square peg into a round hole. Those notches on the outside that prevent it from going in just doesn't work anymore. And when you really start to see things for what they are and realize that you just don't want to do that anymore, it's a wild experience. There was a video that I made the other day. I don't know if it was just on TikTok or also on here, but I talked about how At least for me. I mean, I can't speak for everyone. I'm only talking about my own experiences. Years ago, between 5 and 10 years ago, I made choices that were actually challenging back then that would be as smooth and slipping off as fucking, you know, um, butter that is warming up, right? Today, that is. Let me make sure I make that metaphor make sense. Um, I chose to cut people off earlier on in my life, right? When I say earlier on, I'm really referring to 5 or 10 years ago, not like crazy earlier on. Make sure the mic is still on. Good, we're good. Um, and just this whole process of like needing to be by yourself while you're healing, right? While you're cutting people off in terms of relationships that once were that no longer are. There's an entire like you're life is trying to prepare you for the new. I don't know why I said it that way, new. But it really is, and the necessary time of being alone, which is probably scary because you're used to having people in your life and they're just they're not there anymore because you chose to cut them off. And then maybe you start to ask yourself, did I make the right decision? I don't have people in my life anymore. And I understand. I do. I understand the scary element of that. But I've experience with this. I have experience of choosing to cut people off and let people go, um, because it's like I deserve better. I don't want to be dealing with that shit anymore. And the fascinating thing about it too is that like I am learning to not involve myself in relationships where there are dynamics of like drama and gossip. And when that is familiar to you, like hard fucking wired in your neurological system, your psyche, everything, in the software that has just been continuing to repeat itself over and over. Like it's so wild that it in and of itself is just like a standalone program that just fucking operates. It's automatic, like, and it's challenging because like to get the same neurochemical high, you just need to keep doing the same fucking thing over and over again. And challenging that, like it's kind of like waking up like a beast that is like, yeah, listen, I want to do things differently. And then the beast is like, but why? Look at all the drama, look at all the gossip. It's exciting, the chaos. This is all you've ever known. Why would you want to do anything else? No, I'm not on board with that. I don't want to do that. And then you just keep poking it over and over again, but I want different, 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 right? And then like after a point, maybe it starts to respond to you with, well, then you're fucking alone because I don't want different. I don't want do whatever the fuck you want to do. It doesn't make sense to me. This is all I've ever known. I'm gonna stick with the chaos. I'm gonna stick with this, that, and the other. I don't want anything else, right? And so like actually choosing to take that path, it's kind of lonely. It really is. Like it's like no more drama and gossip. Then what the fuck are we gonna do? No more enmeshing yourself with people and relationships, then what the fuck are we going to do? You know? And by the way, in like, I don't know, millions to like a total infinite number of ways, enmeshment is just one way of doing a relationship. It's not good or bad or right or wrong. There are so many fucking ways that you can do a relationship. Like I'm starting to realize that now. Like the more I step outside of the monotone gray that I've been painting with, the same fucking way of doing things over and over and over again, I'm realizing, and by the way, the monotone gray, the enmeshment, the fucked up boundaries, the unhealthy, exceedingly fucked up dynamic, dysfunctional way of doing relationships. I'm really starting to see just how corrupt of a system it is. you know so it's like I'm like, all right, fine, bye. I don't need to keep doing it. And not only that, but the interesting thing about doing things differently is that I'm realizing it's somewhat similar to like, all right, well, a child, right? They're not attached to what they're doing. They're just exploring, they're just playing, they're just having fun, right? And that's what this is all about. Like, healing is all about looking at your child self, your little self that didn't get what it needed, and showing up for it, right? And being like, "Hey, buddy, I understand that your earlier years sucked. Let's do it over, or let's do it. Let's do something entirely different, right?" Just showing up, just having fun, and stepping into the unknown and being excited about it. Like, shit, you don't have to hold relationships the way that you have your entire life. Um, you could do relationships entirely differently. You could have peace instead of chaos. I understand that for the people who are still attracted to dynamics of chaos, including myself, I'm not going to lie here, but trying to desensitize and unfamiliarize myself, away from that stuff. There are so many ways to do relationships. There's like an practically an infinite number of ways to do relationships, right? You want to form relationships around art, around creativity, around self-expression, around whatever the fuck you want to. Like there are like a wild amount of different ways that you could do things. And choosing to do things, I mean, again, it's a choice and you can continue doing it, but it's the same thing over and over again. And so what I'm really trying to hint at here is the magic of the unknown, of being in this uncharted territory, of letting go of the old ways of the old self, right? And learning to maybe not even like habituate yourself into a new self, but like just like stepping into the magic of the unknown while in this era, while in this process of shedding old layers and old skin, um, and just becoming. I think the coolest part of the process is because like I'm now realizing like I I have so much potential. I mean, I've thought that for years. I really have, but like I'm realizing that I can do fucking anything that I want to in this life. There's nothing but potential and creative potential and just like I don't know, like I don't have to keep doing the same things that I've been doing. I don't have to keep doing things the way that I've been doing them, you know? And that's just fucking wild. It really is. And I'm grateful that I ever started setting boundaries because, like, talk about giving yourself space that you need. Boundaries is a really excellent way to start the process of that. Hold space for yourself, you know? Because when you start to hold space for yourself, when you start to do the different thing, right? Holding space for yourself is a healthy thing. You'll start to attract people that hold space for themselves and are emotionally available to hold space for you as well, right? This chapter, which I don't even know, like let's maybe not even make it end, right? Let's just keep fucking writing. Um, there are so many ways to do it. I'm letting go of an old self, and I am stepping into a new self, and there are some things that it's like, oh, this is weird. I don't really know what to do here. I don't know what to do about this. I don't know, this, that, and the other. Just remaining gentle with myself is one of the most important things. When you are trying to do something new, remaining gentle with yourself and just reminding yourself that you can do it. You can do whatever you want to. This is life. That's life. Life is a magical process of fucking profound birthing and by the way, I said birthing, not burning. Or also, yeah, birthing of new and burning of old. I like that. I like that. Um, and also kind of just like the farewell to the old and the gratitude as well. Not being hard on yourself, but instead expressing gratitude for everything that you've been through and everything that has happened that has led you to this point. Because what I've learned, especially in terms of healing, that is absolutely crucial, is being gentle with yourself and remembering that at every single point in your life, You have always been doing the best you can with where you've been at and the level of conscious awareness that you've been at, right? You might look back at your life and you might be like, ugh, what was I thinking? How could I have done? That's being hard on yourself. And you may have learned that from your caretakers. You may have learned that from the people that were also hard on themselves. Um, that is not the way into the new self. Again, to heal is to do the opposite of what you previously did. So if what you previously did was be hard on yourself because that's the dynamic that you learned from your caretakers, then the opposite, or whoever the fuck raised you, then the opposite of that is to be gentle with yourself and to be present with yourself and to allow yourself to just explore and play and like, oh, this is the way that I've done relation. Like for instance, if the way that you've done relationships throughout your entire life has been the emotional caretaker of people, right? And you feel like you can't not do that because, whatever, right? You, well, here's the thing. You've probably tied your worth to that. And so therefore you don't really want to try anything outside of that because your worth is so tightly tied to that. And it's like, well, that's the only way that I'll receive love. And I don't really want to try it any other way because that's what's comfortable and familiar. There are many other ways to go about it, right? Like choosing to not be the emotional caretaker in your relationships is a massive step. It really is. But at the same time, I say that I'm like, oh well, that's just meaning that I'm subconsciously or unconsciously ascribing and attaching to it. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not even a massive step. One of the coolest things about healing, in my opinion and my experiences, is the fucking dissolving of beliefs and meaning and everything that I've attached to things, right? Like, do things actually mean what I think that they do? Or have I just unconsciously and subconsciously ascribed and attached meaning to everything? Maybe they don't, and that's fine. You don't have to get so caught up in it. It's okay. But just like becoming aware of that and allowing everything to dissolve as it can. Because, like, literally, the fascinating thing about beliefs and ideas and meaning is that they pretty much fucking run our lives. But are they actually that massive and that big of a deal? Is it actually that massive and that big of a deal to stop being what you've always been? Especially if you don't like it, right? Like when you find out that you don't like being the way that you've been and you can choose to be different, like shit, that is liberating. That is liberating as hell. You've probably just like liberated a fuck ton of energy that you didn't even know was stagnated and trapped and fucking crying for help, like there's not only one way to do things in life, right? Um Life is not either this or that, you know. Um oh, and let me just, considering that this is on the subject of identity, I'll close off with this, right? Because we're talking about leaving the old self, sayonara, good riddance, burning the shit out of all of the old ways of doing things, and really stepping into the new self. Um, I think that one of the most important things to look at here in terms of stepping into the new self is becoming aware of black or white, all or nothing thinking, because it applies to so many different things, right? But in this case specifically, I'll look at how it applies to identity, right? I got trapped in ideas of becoming more manly, being more masculine. I've been triangulated like fucking crazy by so many people. It's a dynamic that I learned, and I also continued to seek it out. It became kind of normal for me. And so for the longest time, what I thought I needed to do was to become more masculine, to become more of a man, until I realized that that in and of itself is black or white thinking, right? Because you're either this or you're that. If you're not more masculine, then you're probably more feminine, right? If you're not more of a man, then you're probably more of a woman. You need to be hard or else you're going to be soft. No, you don't. It says who and why, right? And so the fascinating thing too is that like somebody who approaches you like that, they approach themselves like that as well, but they're not going to accept you for who you are. They want to see you be more masculine, right? So you're either this or you're that. right? Um, One, that is a violation of the boundaries of any given individual because it negates the actual foundation of the self. Those things are just fucking beliefs and ideas and meanings and stuff, right? Um, who is Chris? And I'm not looking for an opposite, it's either I'm either Chris or I'm this. I'm either Chris or I'm that, right? Um, but just like, what it is that I actually want. What does Chris actually want? Does Chris actually want to buy into ideas of black or white thinking and be triangulated by people and believe that he needs to be more of a man and just throughout his entire life chase a fucking idea? Right? Does he actually want to do that? It's just an idea. It's just you're either this or you're that. So you need to run as fast as you can towards this masculinity, be more of a man, be hard, or you're going to be that. And you better be fucking afraid of that. So you're going to spend your entire life exhausting yourself running after that and chasing that so that you're not that. Life is far more complex than that. These things are just meanings, they're just ideas and labels and this, that, and the other. It's black or white thinking. That's all that it is. So I spent a lot of time inside of that, and now I'm letting go of all of that. Because what's most important to me is understanding what it is that I want, not buying into other people's shit and their projections of black or white thinking and being triangulated. No, I don't give a shit. There might be a part two to this anyway. Um, it's just so fascinating. It's normal, I would argue, to be kind of like this era of my life is different and somewhat difficult because I've done a lot of work to, become more what it is that I want, shed the old self, step into the new self, let go of people that really don't vibe with what it is that I'm looking for anymore. You're in an area that is uncharted for you, right? So you're like, what the fuck do I do here? I don't know what I'm doing, right? And let me just say that I've experienced with letting go of people, being weary about doing that, spending more time just focusing on me, and then also like what it is that I want. And healthier people have shown up that I now call friends. No names, but you know, it's just part of the process. It's the experience. That's what it's all about.